We'll cut right to the chase. Things are not going well for NC State basketball right now, but it brings up an interesting question. Would you trade the end of last year if it meant a fresh start?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday sponsor is FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are now here and made better than ever with FanDuel. New customers can sign up today, bet just $5, and get $300 back in bonus bets. Just head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, NC State basketball is, it stinks. It's a whole lot of something. It's also a whole lot of nothing. They cannot get out of their own way. We'll get further into the weeds of that, but we're going to start here on Monday with an interesting hypothetical I've seen passed around the internet. Would you trade the ACC Championship from last year and the trip to the Final Four if it meant that NC State would move on from the current head coach and have a fresh start to go on from there? I have my opinions. I'm sure you have yours. I'll let you start us off here.
I think that to properly look at this thing and really define it, you have to ask yourself, how often is the occurrence that a team both wins their conference tournament and advances to the Final Four?
Not often.
If we look at even the biggest and best of blue bloods, even the rising programs that are seen as the cream of the crop, this is not an everyday occurrence. Do you know how far you would have to go back to find Gonzaga, per se, doing this? You wouldn't have to go too far because they play in the West Coast Conference. But if you broke it down by the frequency, like how often does it happen? We're looking at 8 years under Keats. If you say, hey, none of the 8 were good except that one, right? Okay, one every 8 years. Has that been the case for a Gonzaga, per se, in terms of the last 20 years or so? No, it hadn't been. If you look at some of the blue bloods like Michigan State, have they done it at a clip that's higher than 8 years? I believe there's a slightly above that, just slightly over the last 20 years. Same thing with the Dirty Foot Club and Duke. Neither one of those teams are going to the Final Four and winning their conference championship in the same season at a clip that makes this make sense. Now, of course, that is obviously excluding other factors, like all of those teams have either been to or won national championships in that same space. So I do very much so honor that and say, hey, that's very much so a thing that we need to, say that it's not exactly one-to-one, but still, if you're asking that, and mind you, I just compared us to the Blue Bloods. I didn't even say, when's the last time NC State won our conference championship and went to the national championship, which is an entirely different conversation altogether. So even if I am saying, what does NC State bring, or what has NC State brought historically? That we all know, yes, you definitely would not trade this season. But now when we get into the best teams in the nation, the Kentuckys of the world and all that, the Tennessees of the world, all those types of schools that are known as basketball schools, what do they bring, again, on a frequency average? And is it so much more than Keats that you would feel comfortable saying, delete Keats' whole tenure, or even just get Keats out right now and go with somebody else, but we take that away? It doesn't make sense. The point is, in the words of Herm Edwards, you play to win the games. And like Keats or not, his teams went out there and won the games all throughout the ACC tournament last year, all throughout the NCAA tournament last year, up until the Final Four. So objectively speaking, I don't understand what the argument is for I'd rather have Keats out and take away the Final Four than to, because now you're assuming that it's a guarantee that whoever this new coach is brings us a conference championship and Final Four, which how many coaches before Keats failed to bring us either when they were here?
Not only do I not understand the argument, I can't even believe it's taking place. I am like at a total loss that people would give away the month and a half that NC State had in the beginning of 2024, March into April, just to hit the reset button and have a new coach for this men's basketball program right now. And look,
Yeah.
I know people are upset. It sucks watching this team right now. It honestly does. It's a hard watch. The team is not well put together. They don't play well together. They don't execute well together. There's so many things that are just so entirely frustrating. And especially coming off the heels of a run like that, you expected much better from this team this year. You expected Keats to formulate a team with momentum off of that run, and it has not happened. And I understand. I'm also upset about this. Don't get me wrong. But it is insane. I think it's absolutely insane to wish that away in hopes of somebody else would turn this program around quick enough that we could experience the same highs that we did this past year. Insane. I wouldn't trade these two banners behind me for anything. Absolutely anything. And NC State's basketball program, it used to be a lot more storied than it currently is now. Back in the 70s and 80s, we were a premier basketball program in the country. We had some of the top players in the country. We had one of the best coaches of all time. Since then, NC State has been in a swirling pit of mediocrity. To give up what we saw at the end of last year, to potentially just give the reins to someone else and still stay in that whirlpool, absolutely not. Actually, in better terms, hell no. Hell no. I'm giving that up. Flags fly forever. These flags fly forever. What they accomplished in 5 days in Washington, D.C., and then the subsequent 3 to 4 weeks in March Madness, we'll never forget it. This fan base will hold on to that as long as we are living on this planet, and we should. To think that just because we are frustrated the year after, and we're currently sitting at 9-9, that we would punt that, no, absolutely not. I cannot believe people are entertaining this idea. And again, I get you're upset, but that's a bridge too far.
And the worst part of this argument for me, it's not even like we've bottomed out as a program in a way where we're like that team that everybody's like, you cannot lose to them. Like, whatever happens, you cannot. Teams around the ACC are not like, oh my God, if you lose to NC State, you're the worst team in the universe. Like, you're not there. You know, like, this isn't even the worst it could possibly be. Is this team bad? Yes. Is this team closing out games? No. Is this team suffering from a bad case of can't get right-itis where they finally do the things they've been bad at well in the game, and then all of a sudden the things they've been doing well fall apart? Yes, for sure. But the reality is it could be a lot worse, and it could be a lot worse without you getting a Final Four. Because let's just say we play out this hypothetical and everybody else is, you know, and the people who would take that hypothetical's mind, who would do that. What if you replace Coach Keats with a coach that is equal in value to him? That's exactly the same coach, but now you just don't have a Final Four. Did you get what you came for? Would you feel smart in that situation? I would hope not. I would hope not. So, you know, this to me is just a very clear, you know, like Grayson said, hell no for me. In the words of the great Randy Jackson, that's a no for me, dog. That'll be a no for me.
It could be so much worse than what NC State is currently experiencing. This is going to come across as extremely disrespectful, but please understand the point of the exercise. Would you rather be NC State or would you rather be Boston College? Would you rather be NC State or would you rather be, I don't know, Northwestern or Rutgers or Washington basketball in Seattle? Like, fill in the blank of random, irrelevant basketball program. No, I would much rather be, you know, relatively mediocre as NC State, but have the year that we had last year every single time. Eventually, one day, this will all come out in the wash. Do I think Keats is the right answer for NC State right now? No. And it's hard to believe otherwise because we're running into the same problems year after year. The program is inconsistent. We all know what we're seeing right now. So that is very tough to stomach. But no, I would not trade this for absolutely anything. And I'm shocked that there are people that would say otherwise. But hey, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Coming up next, we're going to stay on the topic, though. Going to get deeper into the weeds of yet another tough loss for NC State men's basketball. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is Prizepicks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prizepicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or the regular season, Prizepicks has made it easier than ever before to win big while enjoying all of the football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on this action than with Prizepicks. And here's how it works. All you have to do is simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. Yes, that's right, 1,000 times your money, just by making a few simple picks. For me, I'm all about hot takes, and this week on Prizepicks, I took Lamar Jackson going over 250 passing yards, and I've already hit Travis Kelce over 70 receiving yards. It's fun to predict and easy to play. Plus, with Prizepicks Flex Play, you can still double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. With the app, you can get your winnings fast, sometimes in as little as just 15 minutes. Get ready to run your game this football season with Prizepicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for signing up and playing $5. Don't wait any longer. Take your game to the next level with Prizepicks. Prizepicks, run your game. Middle portion of our Monday show, kind of working backwards here in our men's basketball talk. NC State lost again on Saturday at the hands of the Cal Golden Bears by a score of 65-62. It's another game that NC State could not afford to lose. And I know I sound like a broken record at this point in time, because every single game that we've dropped here of recent, all games that we desperately needed to have, could not find a way to have it. That also extends out to the Virginia Tech game that we didn't even bother talking about, because blowing a 15-point lead on the road after you had already blown a 14-point lead on the road to the other school in Virginia, it's putrid. But we'll focus here on this Cal game. I'll be honest, this is another one I paid very limited attention to. I watched what I could to take my conclusions away, but what I will tell you instantly jumps off the page and jumped off of, I guess, the screen, out-rebounded severely yet again. Getting consistently out-rebounded is absolutely killing this team. We got slaughtered on the glass against Virginia Tech, and that theme keeps bleeding in game after game after game. It doesn't matter who you play in this league. If you give them multiple opportunities to beat you, they will beat you. It doesn't matter that the ACC is down this year. Every single team is capable of beating us right now, and we're making a clear example out of that, because Cal was one of the games that NC State should have. All things considered, Cal was supposed to be one of the easier games, especially because it's home for NC State, that was left on the schedule. Could not even get that one done. Kenshin, they're 9-9. Where do they go from here?
We need to do a reverse Coach Carter. You know, you remember when Coach Carter locked the guys out of the gym till their grades got better? I don't give a damn what the team's GPA is. Lock them boys in the gym.
Study hall in the Dale Center. Study hall in the Dale.
Make them stand behind the three-point line, and everybody that is below the height of 6'8", keep shooting till you hit 5 straight. You know what jumps off the page to me, Grayson? Do you know how many three-pointers we made this game?
1 for 10.
1 for 10. 1 for 10. Let me say it again for y'all. 1 for 10. I can't, as much as a lot of people are saying, like, hey, we're not getting blown out. We have the talent. The problem is Keats. I could not disagree more in some instances. I think Keats is a problem. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing. The talent that he assembled is on him. So that is his problem. The talent not being able to make multiple threes in a game. Grayson, just out of curiosity, how much was this game lost by? I believe it was 65-62.
Correct.
So one more three sends you into overtime, right? 2 more threes, now it's getting sticky. You win the ball game. And you're telling me we couldn't do that? To say this is disappointing is an understatement of the century. It's an understatement of the century. It's one of those moments where I look up and I ask myself, how are we this bad? And like Grayson said, we're going to sound like broken records because it's not new things beating this team. How are you undersized and bad at shooting? We don't get it. But you know what? You want to know the funniest part, Grayson? What's our other complaint about this team? Undersized, so lack of rebounding, bad at shooting from the three-point line. What else is the third complaint that we constantly harp on?
We've talked a lot about our foul shooting as well.
Free throw shooting, Grayson, 9 of 14. 9 of 14 from the stripe. Oh, what are we doing here? What are we doing? I am legitimately baffled by the fact that we cannot hit free throws, especially from our smaller guys. Like, sure, bigs, you don't expect them to hit at a high clip. However, even if you take Brandon Huntley-Hatfield's 1 for 3 away, we are still 8 for 11, which is much better, but still, you've got to do better, man. You've got to do better. You've got to finish these plays off, and you've got to, when you get to the foul line, make the free and easy ones. Because, again, we're not expecting 100%, but we're expecting somewhere better. 9 of 14 is about, what, 66%, a little bit over that? Like
64.
64%. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you know, like if asking for 64% from the free throw line is too much, then I'm sorry. I'm always going to ask for too much. That's always what I'm going to, especially from an undersized team. If asking for you to shoot better than 10% from the three-point line is too much, I'm always going to ask for too much. Count me as part of the irrational Wolfpack Nation fans. Count me in. Don't worry, Ken Gibbs burner account on the way. Because this is it's devastating, man. This is it. And the part that is so soul-crushing about this is it happens time after time after time again to the point where you start to even get that feeling of, well, how are we going to lose this one? Oh, look at us down. Oh, I don't think we're going to come back. Oh, but they just tied the game up. Yeah, I've seen this story play out already. So, you know, very disheartening, very disappointing, but more of the same stuff because the same problems continue to plague us.
Yeah, and you made a great point on why things are going bad, because obviously Keats is the easy target. Everyone wants to go after Keats. Oh, the run last year was a fluke. We haven't done anything over his 8-year tenure. We're seeing the same problems, the same roster construction problems, the same problems coming out of a timeout to end a game, the same offense. Like literally everything has been pretty much consistent over the 8-year tenure. However, I will say this team is not losing games solely because of Keats, like Kenton was talking about. At some point, players also have to execute. Keats is not on the floor shooting 1 of 10 from the perimeter. The team is. It's a failure to execute. The rebounding like 98% of the time is a pure effort thing. It's effort. You either want to more than the other guy or you don't. I think the 2% is just pure physicality sometimes, but rebounding is a mindset. It's a want to. This team is routinely getting out-rebounded. What else is there to say at this point? This team is failing on multiple different levels, and that would tell you it's not only a Keats problem. The players have to carry their own weight as well. Like, for example, and I don't mean to blow up a spot here, but Dontrez Styles finished with 0 points on Saturday against Cal. 0 for 4 from the floor, 0 for 3 from 3, 4 rebounds, and a personal foul. That was it. It's kind of Tony Snellish. This team, like we've already said, we cannot afford to have these games where one guy is like virtually checked out. We can't have games where the front court is not trying to dominate on the boards. We can't have a game where the point guard is just all out of sorts, whoever it is, whether it's MOC or Breon or even Trey Parker. It all boils down to the central idea. This team is just not good enough. The construction of the roster is not good enough. And I think that's really what you're going to hear us say for the majority of the rest of the season, because that rings true every single time we take the hard court for 40 minutes. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's not only a Keats problem. It's not only a player problem. It's everything mixed into one pot. And that is how you find yourself at 9-9. And like I told you, Cal, Virginia Tech, and on the road at Virginia as well, those were 3 games that NC State has to win, because now you're looking forward. You have SMU, which is one of the best offenses in the country. I don't know if you saw this, Kenton. They put, I think it was 117 points in regulation on Miami. Miami stinks, but 117 in regulation is absurd, no matter who you play. Then you got to play across the street in Cameron Indoor against Duke. Best of luck to you. Then you got Clemson. You got to go on the road and play Cal and Stanford across the country. It only gets tougher from here on out. And so the games that you thought were, quote unquote gimmies, you gave those away. I don't have really any answers for this team right now. And it's a sobering thought. I don't know if anyone has any answers right now. I know Alec Lauer of Trinity Road Times. He's one of the better basketball minds I encounter on the internet on a consistent basis. Even he's struggling to find answers for this team right now. It is a comedy of errors. I don't know. It kind of is what it is. I'm running out of words to describe how painfully mediocre this basketball team is right now.
Yeah. In the words of one Tizo touchdown, get rid of the mid. Get the mid off the streets. And right now, I need Keats to get the mid off the hardwood. I need this to stop. I need this to be better because, again, this product is what we're seeing from this team is just atrocious. It is it's so bad. And yet it's so close to being good, which is the worst part about it. Like, we're 1 of 6 in our last – we're 1 of 5 in our last 7 games, right? Like, that's, again, objectively a thing that has happened. 1 of 5 in our last 6. How many of those came by more than one possession, Grayson?
I think losses. Just one. Was it Wake Forest?
Wake Forest. That's it. Yeah. Virginia, 3-point loss. Dirty Foot Club, 2-point loss. Virginia Tech, 3-point loss. Cal, 3-point loss. It's not just that we're mid. We're aggressively mid. It's like, I want you to believe that I'm going to win this game, but I'm not going to. That's just, again, very disheartening.
And I think one last talking point, kind of in the same idea, and unfortunately, this won't be the last time we have this conversation because we still have over a month and a half of basketball left to play, but assuming that this team does miss the tournament, that is the current trajectory that they are on, a lot of folks are already wondering, would they get rid of Keats the year after an ACC championship in the Final Four? I believe we're both on the same page, and our answer is probably not. In fact, extremely likely that they will not. Because not only does that set a bad precedent for any coach moving forward, if their coach can accomplish something they've waited decades to do, and the next year when things get a little tough, they're kicking them out the door, why would I put myself in that situation? That's the type of deal you're looking at here. If you do rip the Band-Aid off and try and replace them, it just becomes a mess. So for this year, you're going to have to bite your tongue. You're going to have to grit your teeth a little bit. But the rest of the season, I think it is what it is. I do think that despite how bad things are going right now, Keats has earned a free pass type of year. It is what it is. He earned this. Fair. He earned the extension. He won the ACC championship, and he went to the Final Four. Say whatever you want. You can't take that away from him. You can't take that away from this university. Again, flags fly forever. It's going to be tough. Buckle your seatbelts. But I think he still deserves to be here for now. Coming up next, we're going to get into our national championship picks for Monday evening. A little fun way to send you out of here. Notre Dame and Ohio State in Atlanta on Monday night. We're going to get into the details after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Monday sponsor is FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Yes, that's right. $300. 300 big ones to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and a variety of bets keeps every single game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add a little bit of excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $300 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com in order to get started. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Last couple minutes of our Monday show will send you out on a little bit of a fun note. We bid farewell to the college football season tonight, Monday night. It is the national championship. The Ohio State Buckeyes take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The game is in Atlanta. It's the final game of the 12-team college football playoff. It's been a little bit underwhelming. Recently, it's been awesome. It all comes to a culmination tonight. Kenton, who do you have winning and some of the details behind that?
As a Detroit, Michigan native, it absolutely would pain my heart to see either one of these teams win because I grew up a Michigan fan, so I always hated both of these teams. But with that being said, somebody has to win. I can't root for the asteroid these days because with everything we've seen going on. Hey, listen. I said that if the Wolfpack win an ACC championship, I could die a happy man and got in an accident a day later. So I'm not doing things like that anymore. But in all seriousness, I am going to go with Ohio State to win, but Notre Dame to cover. If you're going money line, give me Ohio State, but I don't think that Ohio State is that much better than Notre Dame. I think that Ohio State ultimately pulls it out because when I look at this game, I say to myself, Notre Dame has a few too many injuries up front defensively, and you can get away with playing a Penn State with true freshmen as your edge rushers and kind of live because, Drew Aller is Drew Aller. I don't know what that young man has done to trick all of these media pundits into believing, oh, he's QB1. He's going to be great one day. I don't know what he's done. If I had his PR team, me and Meg Thee Stallion would already be in a committed long-term monogamous relationship, but here I am. So with that in mind, again, I think that Notre Dame's just a little bit too beat up front, and everybody keeps saying Michigan gave the blueprint to stopping Ohio State. Well, of course, the blueprint is simple. Have 2 first-round defensive tackles that absolutely crush the run by themselves that allows you to play too high the entire game. I'm sure Al Golden has a couple of those hidden in the back somewhere that he just hasn't played all season for some reason.
A lot of times, especially once you get into the playoffs this time of the year, these games will come back to the better quarterback play. And in this example, I would give the nod to Will Howard over Riley Leonard as a pure quarterback standpoint. I think Will Howard is a much better passer. I think he makes better decisions. Riley Leonard is a spectacular athlete. I think he's a little bit of an RPO merchant, and I think something like that will come back to bite him in a game like this one. Don't get me wrong. He's very talented. A guy his size, the way he moves is nothing short of incredible. This is 2 really good defenses, and so that's why I think the better quarterback is going to win this game. And in that note, it will be Will Howard and the Buckeyes. Now, I don't like Ohio State, but I think that they are the better team, and they're on a little bit of a warpath. They feel like kind of a team of destiny at this point. After they lost to Michigan, I was like, I'm out on Ohio State. I think they're going to tank in the playoffs. They'll never make it. And yet here they are. And they feel more re-energized than I've ever seen an Ohio State team before. I do think they get it done on Monday night. I see that the line is 8.5. I would probably tend to agree with that because in my mind, I'm thinking like a 31-20 type ball game in favor of the Buckeyes. So give me the Buckeyes. Give me the Buckeyes to cover. And if you want an anytime touchdown score, give me Jeremiah Smith. I do think he is uncoverable. Don't ask Texas that because they might have a differing opinion. 1 catch for 3 yards. But I think Jeremiah Smith will find the end zone. And I think somehow, some way, Ryan Day will be hoisting the trophy on Monday night.
Yeah, and he's also going to scream at Lou Holtz afterwards about his team in
He's going to scream at everybody. He's going to scream at the whole world.
Good for him. Hey, he's earned it. He's earned it, honestly. Yeah. It's people don't understand. Whenever I tell folks, there is no rivalry in all of sports. I don't care what sport, what country, where you are. Definitely nothing like it in college sports. The one that everybody says is the big rivalry in North Carolina, those 2 guys like each other a lot. It's like, hey, you 2 just get a room and kiss somewhere. So with that in mind, a rivalry that doesn't need a cute name, it doesn't need clean old-fashioned hate, it doesn't need the red rivalry. It's just called the game. There's nothing more important than that. And so, it's, again, Ohio State losing that game rightfully got them a lot of vitriol, rightfully got them a lot of people being out, especially against the Michigan team that was not supposed to do anything special this year. But with that being said, they found a way. They found a way, even with some of their best players out, they have found a way to bounce back from that loss and just get better and better in the playoffs. So, yeah, I agree. Ohio State wins. I disagree on them covering, but we'll see.
Should be a good one on Monday night regardless. Thank you all so much for joining us here on Monday. That will do it for us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us your thoughts about the potential trade of last year's ending to having a new coach instead of Coach Keats right now. I'd be shocked if anyone would disagree with that. But hey, we'll see what happens in the comments there. Let us know what you think about the current state of affairs for NC State men's basketball as well. They have now fallen to 9-9 with still a month and a half left to play. Tough seas ahead, but nonetheless, we'll be here for them as always. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Tuesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.